Hello, thank you for tuning in to the Take Note and Move Forward podcast show. I am your host, Notes from Wanda, your forgiveness coach and silence breaker. So last week's episode was about coping with painful memories and flashbacks due to trauma. In this episode, I provide some information and tools about how you can get through a flashback and continue to move forward with your process of healing. If you haven't had a chance to listen to this episode, please head over to my website at notesfromwanda.com/EP14. Again, it's notesfromwanda.com/EP14. This podcast show is all about healing from pain and trauma due to rape, domestic violence, and or child molestation. Today's episode is about reconnecting, rebuilding, and restoring relationships that you have torn yourself away from due to the fact that you have been through some kind of trauma. Sometimes we choose to isolate ourselves because we feel that this is the best way to protect ourselves and to keep ourselves from acting out in some kind of way that may be an embarrassment for that person and for us. So we start to isolate ourselves and form this conclusion that this is the way that it has to be so that I can survive. And that's not true. The first thing that you want to start doing is, once you're able to take a moment and realize that you have been through some kind of trauma, you want to find some kind of support system. My coaching program is available to all women that have been through some type of trauma recently or either in their past. And as I have said before, if you follow me on social media, you already know how I speak up about talking to someone that can relate to your pain and your trauma instead of just a random person that may not be able to understand because they never been through it. So if you're not suffering from some form of mental illness, sometimes coaching and dialoguing is the best way to get you to understand that you're not alone and that the feelings of pain, depression, and anxiety is normal. So that's the first thing. Find a support system that you can lean on, a support system that can relate to your pain. That way you can slowly start talking about what you went through. You can start recognizing the things that you went through so that eventually you're able to accept the whole situation for what it is. And this helps with your process of healing and getting back to being the person that you were, and better yet, being a better person than what you were before the trauma even happened. That's one thing. The second thing is that if you find yourself not talking to people, you're not communicating because you simply don't want to talk at all because you're going through this type of feeling where no one can help me, no one can solve any of my problems, no one can help me feel better. That may be true for some of your family members that can't relate to what you've been through, but that doesn't mean that you have to stop talking to them. You don't have to jump into all of these family events that are, that they ask you to come through to, and you don't feel like it because you simply feel that I just can't. I feel like I may act out in some kind of way that may embarrass myself or that may embarrass them. So you can take your time before you actually start being around a large amount of family members or being around, one or two family members. You could take your time, but don't cut off all communication. All it takes is a text message, an email, or a letter to say, I'm going through a few things and I just need some time and space. If you don't want to say exactly what it is, you can just say, I'm going through a few things and I need some time and some space, but I wanted to let you know that I'm okay. And that's the important thing to say. Let them know that you're okay, That way they know they're not part of the problem and that, they're not pushing your way. So that's the second thing. Don't cut off all communication. The third thing is getting involved with a serious relationship after trauma is very hard sometimes. Because the simple fact is that you don't want to be abused again. You don't want to be involved with a person that may possibly go upside your head again. You don't want to be with a person that is going to be saying things verbally abusive against you and have you feeling some type of way and have you reliving all the trauma that you have experienced before you even got involved with this person. So before you get involved with someone, if you're not already involved with someone after the trauma, take your time, take baby steps. Start off with phone conversations and getting to know that person. Start off with simple activities like taking a walk in the park. You definitely don't want to be involved in a situation where you're jumping in someone's bed and sleeping with them, having sex with them, knowing that you're not healed from your trauma. Because what this does sometimes, it confuses you. It confuses you as far as, where you're at with your process of healing. You don't want to have yourself where your feelings are all wrapped up because you have chosen to have sex with a person and now everything is moving forward and it's moving fast. You're moving in together. So now if you're not healed, at least you want to make the person believe that you are healed. And in some instances, some of us even fail to mention to the person that we're involved with that we have been through some kind of trauma. And that's not fair because now this person doesn't know anything about what we went through, and therefore they don't know some of the signs and some of the, things that may happen in the course of you moving in with this person or being around with this person because they don't know that you've been through some kind of trauma. So when they start seeing you reacting due to a flashback or a painful memory about the trauma, they may not know what to do, or you may even cause damage to that person and more harm to yourself because now the situation has become very scary and you don't want to do that. So baby steps is what you want to take before you get involved with someone seriously after you have been through some kind of trauma. For those of us who are married, and we were married before the trauma even happened, the thing is that it's one thing for you to heal from the trauma. But if your marriage is going to survive, you want to include your spouse and you want to take steps as far as allowing your spouse to understand what you went through. And you may even want to start talking to a counselor about how your spouse can understand what you went through and what it's going to take for you to heal from that pain. Because the truth of the matter is now is the two of you healing from some trauma. You went through it physically, but now emotionally, your husband or your wife is going to have to heal from the fact that it did happen to you and that they weren't able to protect you. For me, it was, I got married after the trauma happened to me, but not before I was ready. I had to make sure that I was happy with myself and that I wasn't still blaming the whole wide world for what I went through. Because the truth of the matter is that, some of us will start pointing fingers even at people who don't know what happened to us because we have formed all this type of anger in our heart and our minds about the trauma that we went through. It's not fair. The trauma is not fair, but the fact that you have to heal from it and you have to be happy and be able to make yourself happy before you get involved with a relationship or decide to marry someone. So that's what happened with me. I had to heal from my trauma, make sure that I'm able to make myself happy and be satisfied and with where I was at that point in time. And what helped me out the most was talking to someone that could relate to my pain. I had a close friend. Her name was Lily. And before she passed away, God rest her soul, she was able to give me all types of knowledge and information about healing from trauma and how you can't blame the world for what you went through. You can read more about my story with and my relationship with Lily. In my book, they said that I wouldn't make it, but here I am. You can read more about that story in my book, and it's a wonderful story about how I was able to turn my life around and get better for myself and my daughter. So make sure you pick up a copy of my book to understand what I mean when I say having someone around that can relate to your pain is sometimes the best and the most valuable tool you can have in your pocket to help you heal from your trauma. So that's all for today, you guys, as far as reconnecting, rebuilding and restoring relationships. And make sure that, like I said, you go back and listen to the previous episode before. Subscribe to my podcast channel so that you can keep up with every episode that I put out there. And remember, you can pick up a copy of my action guide about how to cope with painful memories and flashbacks. You can download it today at notesfromwanda.com/I'm Again, you can download a copy of my free action guide about how to cope with painful memories and flashbacks at notesfromwanda.com/I'm Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're not already doing so, please follow me on Instagram and Twitter at notesfromwanda.com. And on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Take Note Move Forward. You guys have a wonderful day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Make it count. Have a good one.